So it's Friday. It's a rainy afternoon here in New York, and I thought I would do a little toy photography before I have to go pick my son up from school. So I recently got a Legend of Zelda figure, specifically Link, from one of the Zelda games. I can't play because I'm a father and I don't have time, but I still love the character from my childhood, so I bought the goddamn figure. So I've set it up over here. You can see it behind me. So let's take a look at that real quick. I have to switch this around. How do I do that? I don't know, and you don't know. All right, there we are. So you can see I have the figure all set up in kind of a sitting contemplating pose. He's got his sword out, got his hand resting on it, his shield beside him, looking down, kind of thinking like, why do I have to keep doing this? Why? Can't the princess rescue herself? Why do I mean, at least I got a cool sword and shield and things like that, but there's gotta be more to life than this. Or maybe he's just thinking, man, I am so lucky. Look at this badass sword and this badass shield. I just had to rest for a second, because my legs are tired from all the running around Hyrule and stuff. Anyway, so there's the pose. I have more lights on than I did when I was shooting, obviously. I don't have, it's not this light, so let's turn some of these off real quick to get a better idea. But I have this digital background right here, just kind of a generic fantasy background. And I have, come on, let's go. I have this light guy up here. Maybe if I switch the gimbal a little bit. Gimbal mode. There we go. I guess this would usually be the key light, but I have it bouncing off this white card, so it'll be a little more subtle, a little more diffused, maybe mimic natural daylight a little bit better. At least that's the idea. And then I have another kind of backlight or rim light right here behind him, which I think is working really well. And I have a black card to kind of mask the glare off the digital background. Camera sitting right here. I shot a bunch with a zoom lens I have, the kit lens that came with this camera, but this is the 85mm prime, which I just switched to get a little bit tighter shot on this figure. But anyway, yeah, that's the setup. So now I'll jump into editing. We'll see it comes out. All right, here we are in the importing phase, my importing culling phase. So I'm importing all the videos and I'm going through and flagging things as a pic, as you can see. And that's my first step. I go through, and if you're not familiar with Lightroom, flagging as a pic is basically just turning on a flag filter saying like, okay, I mean, you can use it for however you want, but I use it as, okay, this is a potential picture to edit and take all the way. So then I just kind of view all the photos that I've picked. You'll see me filter by pick here. Then I will select them all and create a new collection inside my collection set that I will call pics. There you go. I will type it correctly. There we go, pics. And then I'll go into pics, and anything of pics that I think is worth editing all the way, I'll set to a rating of 5. And that'll be kind of my final set of photos that I'll edit all the way. So you can see here, okay, all the 5-star photos, create a collection called selects. And there we go. And then I'll actually start editing. Here's a speed run of me editing one of the pictures in Lightroom. This is my usual editing flow. Start with Lightroom, basic adjustments, then details, then the tone curves. Not sure what I'm doing here. Looks like, just standard S-curve with some cutoffs. I always like to desaturate a little bit, and then I mess with the calibration a little bit to also desaturate just a tiny, especially with this photo. It's very, very colorful. And then I usually like to bring up the texture and clarity on the figure. Cool him down a little bit in this case, bring up the shadows, really kind of make him pop a little bit, darken the background a little bit with a radial gradient, take him out, slight color grading here, slight close to what I think is a pretty good edit, slight. And then I'll go into Photoshop. First thing I do is make a duplicate layer of the photo just so I don't mess with the original too much. So I'll have like a photo with adjustments. That way, if I mess anything up, I can always go back to that other layer. All right here. I think I'm going to do a posterize. Yeah, posterize. And you can see what posterize does. That filter, you know, kind of breaks it down into its base layers of color, kind of like making it a poster. And I like to do that with some of these figures that are more anime or cartoon-like, just to see if I can reinforce that cartoon feel. In this case, I applied it on the whole picture, but then I decided to just apply to Link himself. So apply it and then mask it out, which is what I do here. So the background doesn't get that look. And I think it very subtly adds more of a cartoon or anime type feel to the figure rather than, you know, without using the posterize would do, if that makes sense. All right, yeah, just testing what it looks like. And now I'm gonna do a color gradient, kind of bring everything together. First, select some colors from the photo. Yeah, I think I do the kind of the orange and the teal blue there. Do a gradient map. Oh, gotta reverse it. There we go. Put that on there, put it above our posterize. Make sure everything looks consistent. Change the blending mode to soft light, bring the opacity down. I find this gives the photo more of a unified feel, a very subtle change, but one that I think kind of makes the photo just a tiny bit better. Yep, then I'll group everything up, photo with adjustments as a group. That'll make it easier to navigate later if I have to come back and make adjustments, which I believe I do. I think I didn't record it, but I do come off it. And I also like to color. I started doing this is color coding it just to make sure I can quickly see which is the original, which is the adjustment. So original is blue, adjustments are orange. All right, now I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna go ahead and clean that little speck of dust up, and I'm gonna brighten his eyes a little bit. And then I think I also bring up the saturation in the blues in a little bit. But right here, I'm just using the dodge tool at first. And then I think I'll switch to the sponge tool to add some saturation in a minute. Right, yep, there's the dodge tool again. Gonna brighten up the sword. Brighten up the rims right here of all the light that's kind of around him. You know, the hair, the shoulder pad. And then I also kind of lighten up some of the shadows a little bit there. Make him pop just a little bit more. And then, yeah, that's about it. That's the final image. I desaturated a little bit more. And then I also got this image where I added some smoke. I didn't capture that editing, though. But anyway, that was the whole session. You know, I only ended up with the 2 photos out of that session. But hey, you know, let's see, I took, I don't know, way more than 2. But of all those photos, getting those 2 shots I was really happy with. You know, that was a good 30-35 minutes spent setting up, shooting, and all that, and then, you know, however much time editing. I really like how the photos came out. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.